What's up, folks? Kenneth here, streamhomeloan.com. Thank you for tapping in once again. Always appreciate it. Go ahead, like and subscribe since you're here, or wait until you get some good content out of this video and then like. But I do appreciate you being here. So I just want to make a 10-step walkthrough for home buyers or for people that are looking at buying a home. I think that a lot of times people, the idea and the concept, most people probably do want to purchase a home, but they just don't know the steps, or the idea just kind of seems a little overwhelming. People just kind of back off and just move forward with life. But it's really not that hard. It does take some steps, it does take some processes. The normal time frame is about 30 days or less. But if you kind of know what to expect, then it doesn't seem as bad and it shouldn't be as stressful. So I just want to make this 10-step walkthrough for you guys. Here we go. Number one step, first step when you are starting the process of purchasing a home is to be pre-approved. You want to connect with a loan officer or a lender to find out what you qualify for, what loan programs are available for you, what the terms of those loan programs are, what costs are going to be associated with closing the loan, interest rates, payments, etc. Right? So first step, getting pre-approved, connect with a loan officer or a lender in your area. This is where you're going to exchange your income or you're going to give them income documentation. They're going to run your credit. You're going to let them know what your asset situation is, and that should be enough information to determine what program is going to be best for you. Just so you know, if you want to work with our company, we are approved in California, Colorado, Florida, and Texas. Well-versed in mortgage pre-approvals and purchases. And we can help you answer any questions you have. And if you're in a different state and you just have a general question, you can call too, and I can answer for you for the most part. Okay, so once you are pre-approved, once the loan officer has reviewed your information, came back to you and said, hey, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you qualify for a $500,000 loan. You don't have to put any money down because we're going to do a down payment assistance program, and your payment is this much a month. You say, okay, that works for me. They'll probably tell you, hey, on the high end, you could go up a little higher, or maybe this is your max, or, it'll vary per person. Sometimes, someone's like, hey, I just, can you pre-approve me for this amount? Because they already kind of have an idea of what they're trying to purchase, and maybe they technically could qualify for more, but as a lender, we're going to pre-approve you and put the dollar amount on the pre-approval that you're looking for, unless you are looking for like a max pre-approval. After you are pre-approved, what you're going to want to do is connect with the realtor. Here at streamhomeloan.com, we do have agents that are realtors as well as loan officers, and on a lot of transactions, they will work on both sides of the table with the client. They'll be the loan officer as well as a realtor, which works out great for our clients. But once you're pre-approved, you want to connect with the realtor. That way that person can look on the MLS, the multiple listing source, find out what properties are available that meet your parameters in the areas that you're looking at, as well as what you have in the power as the buyer to go on the internet looking at different properties, Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. You're going to be able to send over properties to your to your realtor, so you guys can kind of go back and forth and say, oh, I see this one, I see this one. As a realtor, they're going to gather that information, find out the status of those properties that you're seeing on Zillow, and then set up appointments to view the property if they're still available. Okay, so you're pre-approved, you connected with the realtor, or you're working with streamhomeloan.com, your loan officer is your realtor. You find a property that you're in love with, you're ready to make a move on. The next step is for your realtor to submit the offer, right? So the way that you submit an offer is a realtor is this is not something that you're gonna have to write up. You and the realtor will communicate and come up with a offer based off of the purchase price, based off of what you want from the seller. Do you want them to include the washer and dryer? Do you want them to include the stove? Do you want them to give you some sort of credit back for closing costs, which is very common right now because the market is a little depressed? That's all going to be written in your offer, and this offer isn't written on a piece of paper and pen. There's a real estate purchase agreement form that falls under California realtor guidelines, and it's going to be plug and play. Your realtor is going to have a system. You guys are going to communicate. They're going to put all the information into the form and then send it to you for signatures. So hopefully that clears up that process a little bit. From there, you know, in certain markets, you do have to negotiate a little bit. You may have multiple offers on a property, but assuming a scenario where your offer is accepted by the seller because the numbers meet and the terms of the agreement work together, or they all work, next thing you know, your offer is accepted, and now this starts the period of escrow. This is where escrow is opened. So you'll hear, you know, someone, I'm in escrow, I'm going into escrow. Basically, that's the time frame and the period and process of getting your transaction closed. Normal escrow period is about 30 days. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes shorter. And it really depends on the parties involved. I think that the shortest I've seen an escrow be is probably around 15 days. But if there's not, you know, a loan involved, you can probably shorten that if it's like an all cash offer or something like that. Okay, so just a short on what escrow is. The escrow period is one thing, but then part of the escrow period is really the escrow company that's running the back end of the transaction, right? They're collecting the earnest money deposit from the buyer. They're ordering title reports. They are providing information on property taxes. They're doing a lot of back end information, or they're doing a lot of back end processes. They're the ones that are going to send out wires and commissions and payoffs. Basically a non-biased third party that helps with the closing of the transaction. Okay, so escrow gets open. So once escrow gets open, let's imagine that escrow was open today. What's going to happen is your loan officer is going to direct you, send over your earnest money deposit to the escrow company. Here's their wire instructions. You send over your 1%, 2%, or 3% of the purchase price so that you can establish the escrow and open up escrow. From there, on the loan officer side, we are likely, since we pre-approved you, let's say it's been 30 days, we pre-approved you, we'll likely ask for some updated documentation as we go into submitting the loan to the lender. Because prior to that, we hadn't submitted your loan to the lender. We reviewed your loan, or we reviewed your information to confirm what you qualify for. Now, assuming that everything, you know, has stayed the same roughly, the market and your loan parameters, your income and all that, all we're going to do is ask for some updated information. So I might ask you for an updated pay stub. I might ask a borrower for an updated bank statement, depending on how much time has lapsed. So loan officer gathers the updated information, and the loan officer goes from there and starts to prepare the loan disclosures. So the loan disclosures are going to be prepared by the loan officer reaching out to the escrow company, asking the escrow company to provide them with the list of escrow fees so that the loan officer can input them into the system, into the lender's portal, and then send out loan disclosures that show you all the fees in writing. And my man, can I finish my video? Go. Let me finish this video and then I'm going to come in there with you.
Go.
All right, I'll come in color with you. Boop, 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 boop. All right, I'm gonna color with you in just a minute. Okay, so he was throwing me off already when I seen him creeping over here. But so escrow's open. That gives the loan officer the go ahead to start the process on the loan side. Like I said, they're gonna request the updated documentation from you, pay stubs maybe that have gone outside the last 30-day window, a more recent bank statement, etc. And then as a loan officer, we're going to reach out to the escrow company and ask them for a list of their fees, because my first step as a loan officer to really get my loan going is to send out loan disclosures, right? These are the disclosures that are going to disclose all the terms of the loan, also going to disclose all the fees related to the transaction, payment, etc. So in order for me to do that accurately, I need to get a list of the fees from the escrow company, because they're the ones that are going to coordinate the notary. They have their own in-house list of fees, title expenses, courier charges, wire fees, all that. It's going to be on a settlement sheet, and then I'm going to take that information, input it into my lender's system, lock in my interest rate, and then send out my disclosures, right? So I'll send a set of disclosures to my buyer. They'll review the information, make sure everything's accurate and on point to what we communicated, and then they will e-sign the disclosures. So as a buyer, this is not something that you have to overthink too much. They're going to come to you in a secure email. You'll have like a login, And then you'll be able to go in, sign your disclosures. And usually what I do, unless I have just like a super savvy borrower that just kind of is like, hey, I got it, don't worry about it. I usually set up a time to hop on the phone with my buyer, with my borrower, and go over those disclosures. Once my buyer has signed those disclosures, I am good to go on ordering the appraisal, right? So, because there's an intent to proceed in there, and I forgot the exact rule, but you can't charge a fee to a client until they've signed disclosures or reviewed disclosures saying that they're moving forward. So disclosures go out, I order the appraisal because that's important to everyone in the transaction. You know, I usually have realtors hitting me up like, hey, did you guys order the appraisal yet? Where's the appraisal order? I'm like, hey, we just got going and we got to wait for the borrower or the buyer to sign disclosures. All right, so order the appraisal. And for my lender, you know, we're a lender, we're a correspondent lender, but for my investor that we work with on our lending scenarios, the moment the client e-signs the disclosures, that file goes straight into underwriting. So it moves very quickly. Okay, so while that's all starting, this is where on the buyer side, the buyer is ordering their elective inspections, right? So when you purchase a home, the standard inspection that everyone gets is going to be a home inspection. This is just your top to bottom. Home inspector comes out, checks everything that he can get to, and tells you if he sees any problems. In the past, people were required to get termite inspections. I think that was only on VA or FHA, but now it's only VA that's requiring termite inspections. So, but that's still something that a buyer could choose. All these are elective, but 99 times out of 100, everyone's going to choose a home inspection. Rarely do I see someone getting a roof inspection, but I do see it happen, especially if there's like signs of wear and tear. And then the termite inspection, a lot of people still do get that, just, you know, person to person. So buyer's going to order their elective inspections, you know, literally in the same day that the process is getting going. And then the loan officer has already submitted the file to underwrite, or the file is going to underwriting as soon as that buyer e-signs those disclosures, right? So now your file is in underwriting. Underwriter, you were already pre-approved here, but you were pre-approved by a loan officer, not an underwriter. In some scenarios, someone might send the file all the way to underwriting to have them review it up front just to confirm. Usually we only do that if it's like a scenario where we're a little unsure of and want to make sure that the underwriter has seen this and gives us their stamp of approval before we start the process. But most of the times you're getting pre-approved by a loan officer. And then this is going to be the first time that an actual underwriter is reviewing the file for the loan, because prior to that, you don't even have a property associated with it. So underwriter receives the file, they review it, make sure everything matches up to what it's supposed to, and then they approve the loan. When they approve the loan, they issue a list of closing conditions. It's called their conditional approval. Rarely, if ever, are you going to have a scenario where an underwriter gives like a final approval up front. You submit a loan, it gets approved, and there's no conditions. There's always going to be conditions. The reason is because even if all the income is on point and all the assets for the client are in there and there's no questions about that from the underwriter is still looking for the items coming from escrow. They're looking for the title report. They're looking for wire instructions. They're looking for CPL. They're looking for the appraisal report. You know, all those different things that are not even coming directly from the borrower, the underwriter is still looking for, and they're going to be on that approval list. But a lot of times the things that they are looking for the borrower might be an updated pay stub. They might want a clearer picture of a driver's license or a social security card. You know, they might ask for some other information. Oh, we see that you have child support. Can you provide documentation that shows that the exact amount or that it's over? Things like that. And, you know, for the most part, if your loan officer has done a good job up front of really scrutinizing your scenario, none of this stuff will be a surprise. It'll be all things that you can expect an underwriter to ask for in this particular scenario. So let's say the underwriter approves the file, comes back with a list of conditions. While that underwriter receives those conditions, you know, the appraisal's already been ordered, so the appraisal is coming back along with other external loan conditions, meaning like the preliminary title reports coming in, you know, appraisal reports coming in, prelims coming in, maybe a verification of employment, something that we sent off to verify the client's employment has come in. And the loan officer is going to basically gather all those documents up and submit them back to the underwriter for a final approval, right? So your file got approved, 24 hours, 48 hours later, we get the other items in. We gather all those items in with the other documentation that's been requested on the conditional approval, and then we submit them back to the lender for our final approval. Lender receives that information, says, okay, this is all exactly what I wanted, and the lender issues a CTC, which stands for clear to close. So once the loan is clear to close, the loan officer will coordinate a closing with the closing department and the escrow company. The closing department within the lender is going to send loan docs, your final loan docs, over to the escrow company, and the escrow company is going to coordinate a signing with the buyers. They'll either have you as a buyer come to the escrow office, or they'll have a mobile notary go and meet with you. So this is obviously a very concise, trimmed down representation of what this is, or of the 10 steps. But right here, after you sign your loan docs, what's going to happen is the loan docs are going to be shipped back to the lender from the escrow company, and the lender will, once they've received the loan docs as well as whatever final buyer closing funds are required, they will fund the loan, meaning that they send the funds over to the to the title company. It gets recorded with the county. Once it records with the county, the keys belong to the buyer at that point. Prior to that, not your home. The moment it records with the county, your home, and you're in there. So hopefully you got something from this video. Hopefully it was clear and concise. Hopefully my son didn't throw you off too much, but I appreciate you. Like and subscribe, and go get your home.